Timothy.
Well, exactly, Mr. Temple. By Timothy, indeed. It's day 12 of The Eagle is Stranded from the David Eagle podcast. My name is David Eagle. And there's just no knowing which way I and the podcast will turn. One day, we're talking about the 1950s radio detective Paul Temple. The next day, we announce that we are your official source for Gina G news. And then the next day, we are conducting a scientific experiment in which I am attempting yoga poses designed to relieve flatulence and discovering which yoga poses elicit farts. There is no knowing which way we'll turn. But as well as this podcast tackling disparate subjects, I wouldn't want you thinking it's purely desultory. There is order, there is connectedness in what we do, which is why today I have decided to unite the two worlds of fart-inducing yoga and Gina G. And at the end of this episode of The Eagle is Stranded, I will present to you my remix, my fart remix. Well, sorry, I do it a disservice. It's not just farts, it's belches as well, because there was belching in the yoga experience yesterday. It's a fart belch remix of The Eagle is Stranded. No, sorry, not The Eagle is Stranded. That's the next project. And the entire back catalogue indeed, the entire podcast series of The Eagle is Stranded through the medium of farts. No. I said project maybe for another day, but this is our fart belch remix, our flatulence remix of Gina G's Just a Little Bit. And it's exclusive. It's never been aired before. Well, there's been quite a bit of airing going on since yesterday's podcast, but this remix has never been aired before. It's exclusive to The Eagle is Stranded. But first, let's tackle some of your comments from yesterday. As you'd imagine, a podcast like yesterday's was not going to go unnoticed. I'm going to read some of your comments out, but first I would like to apologise for any audio files in the audience. I know that there were some people who were a little bit disappointed because there was some crackling going on the podcast yesterday, and that was not caused by my farting. That was because I housed the microphones in my fiance's ears. The microphones are usually in my ears. That's how we record, with binaural technology, because stereo is just so last season. On the David Eagle podcast and on The Eagle is Stranded, it's all about binaural, three-dimensional audio. And that was especially important, I felt, yesterday with the farts. I really wanted to bring you that in three-dimensional audio for people wearing headphones so they would feel like they were in the room. However, there was some crackling on the microphones caused by Ellie's hair, my fiance's hair. I didn't think about that. I didn't realise that was going to happen. If I'd have thought about it, I could have. She's been growing it for quite a while, but I don't think she would have minded if I'd have said, look, can you cut your hair off because we really want to bring you high-fidelity audio. She would have understood that this is worthwhile for the cause. So I know that a lot of people, when they realised what we were doing, they were setting up their speakers, making sure that their speakers were positioned correctly. Some people setting up surround sound systems, getting out their best quality headphones. Some people making sure their subwoofer was correctly configured, really going to town on getting the best audio experience possible. Some people were also a bit disappointed that I'd released it at 192 kilobytes per second MP3. At least 320 people were saying, at least increase the resolution of the MP3 file. But surely, David, you need to be bringing this in CD quality, if not high definition. And I think people felt there was an opportunity squandered. But then imagine people's horror when they heard the crackling over the top and they thought, well, we can still get something from this. It's still interesting to listen to, but it's not quite the experience we hoped for. I appreciate that. And it makes me think that maybe I will have to do it again with a bigger budget, high quality microphones. I'm going to do some research of the best mics to use for such an activity. But I'm not sure there'll be much on the internet because I don't know how many podcasts are breaking into this kind of territory. So I'll do my research. But just to apologise to those people for the crackling on the recording, I did try and clean it up when we did the action replays and the highlight montage, and I know some of you are very grateful that I'd done that and were relieved. I've not had any comments yet from people who have done the yoga positions, and I was hoping maybe that this could be an interactive feature that you could all get involved and let us know how you got on if you had similar results. I think people, to be honest, have just been enjoying the experience for what it was. Maybe they're thinking, I'll listen to it first, I'll let that digest, I'll let those thoughts percolate, then I'll attempt it myself. So I think we're very much only at the beginning phase with this. Anyway, to address some of your comments. My favourite comment comes from my Auntie Linda. She's not a real auntie, she's a surrogate auntie. We've known her since we were children, and she simply writes, "Take care, David and Ellie." Bearing in mind the image for this podcast episode was essentially me with my arse in the air, next to a podcast episode title which says Fart Yoga. And she's not made any reference to that whatsoever, she's just written, "Take care, David and Ellie." But thank you very much anyway, Auntie Linda. And then Louise comments, and she notices a book in the background of the photo, and so she starts talking about the book that Ellie's reading. Oh, it's a wonderful book. Are you enjoying it? And I'm thinking, within 2 minutes, we're 2 comments in, and neither of them have made reference to the fact that there's a post that's called Fart Yoga, and there's a photo of me with my arse in the air. Louise has seen the photo, seen that the podcast is out, seen me with my arse in the air, and then gone, she's reading the same book as me. So then Louise and Ellie then start having a conversation about the book. And I'm thinking, my Fart Yoga podcast has been hijacked here. We've recorded the experience. I've then had to go up and edit it. I've done a montage of the farts and the belches, put a corresponding photo up, posted on social media, and within 3 minutes, I've inadvertently started up a book club. Now, Tom comments on the photo saying, "Are you sure you haven't fallen down because of all the Baileys you've been drinking?" And this is apparently because in the shot there's bottles of Baileys, quite a few bottles of Baileys. Now, I don't drink Baileys. I haven't really drank any alcohol since I've been in lockdown. So it's nothing to do with me, it's my housemates. I haven't been drinking because I've been doing these podcasts. And I've got to keep a clear head. It's important. I've got a social responsibility. And if I got drunk and I was hungover, I wouldn't be able to bring you the kind of quality that I'm bringing you right now. You need a clear head to do the kind of things that I'm doing. These podcasts are about providing entertainment, but also I'm doing important journalistic work as well. We are your official source for Gina G News. What if a breaking news story about Gina G came out? Someone got there first because I was too busy having a good time, I was on the sauce, or I was hungover and I was having a lie-in. I've got to keep on top of everything Gina G related. The last thing I want is to take my eye off the ball, only to realise that Sky, the BBC, or some other podcast has broke a story about Gina G. What would I say to you people? I have a duty to Gina G to make sure that the Gina G News is told with the kind of editorial standards that you would expect from the David Eagle podcast and from the Eagle is Stranded. So I can't afford to be drinking. Also, I'm doing important scientific research, Tom. Yesterday, yes, entertaining as I'm sure it was, which is, I suppose, fair enough. It's a byproduct of what I was doing, but essentially yesterday was a scientific study into Eastern spiritual practice and flatulence. And I can't do that kind of important research if I'm getting drunk. So no alcohol for me, Tom. Sandra says, "Is it getting to you, David?" I don't know what you're referring to, Sandra. Are you referring to, you think I've gone mad? Is that what you think? This is something I've wanted to do. I've not been able to because of the folk music. But the festivals have been cancelled, the gigs are cancelled, folk music and comedy have gone out of the window. So I turn my attentions to my passions, Gina G and flatulence relieving yoga. And I bring them to you on the podcast. So I've no idea what you're referring to, Sandra. I think this is the trouble. If you do anything involving farting, people just think it's a joke. People will even think that my Gina G fart remix is some kind of joke. The sound of a fart. Think about it. It's releasing stuff that needs to be released. It's a beautiful sound. It shouldn't... I know there's a concomitant smell that's often not pleasant, but the sound is another matter altogether. And I'm going to prove very shortly that my farts were very tuneful, in fact. Because when I was doing this remix, the idea was I was going to put auto-tune on the fart, because I thought I'm really going to have to tune these farts. I didn't have to tune them in the slightest because the fart was fully in tune. And the best bit about it was, and any musicians will appreciate this, it was microtonically in tune. I didn't have to tune it up by any amount whatsoever. And I hope that Gina G, if she is reading these tweets and she is following the links to the podcast, I hope that she doesn't think this is a disrespectful act. I think it's a beautiful synergy that has been created here between the two of us with your voice and instrumental accompaniment with my farts. I think synergy is the word. I don't say that word lightly, but I think in this case it's the perfect word to use. I'm sure it should be flattered by the flatulence. Flattery gets you nowhere, but flatulence flattery, my goodness, it might get us somewhere, and this might get the attention of Gina, and we might finally, if you're interested in collaborating, Gina, it would be an absolute honour. She's not been active for a while, and we'll be discussing that in a future Eagle is Stranded episode. We've been doing a lot of research when it comes to Gina G. But right now, I hope this proves You might not be able to polish a turd, but you can polish a fart. And so now, exclusive to The Eagle is Stranded, this is Just a Little Bit, accompanied by my gas emissions, both bottom-based and mouth-based. Enjoy, and goodbye till tomorrow.